So the other night I was reading Matthew when I found a verse that changed my perspective on a lot. That changed the way I would talk about faith, the way I would preach about faith, the way that I would teach online. A verse that hits home on the idea of a conditional faith versus an unconditional faith, an absolute faith. And the verse I'm referring to is from Matthew chapter 5, verse 19, where it says, "Therefore, whoever relaxes one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven." Very clear distinction Jesus is talking about. If your faith is conditional, if you only choose the parts of the gospel you agree with and reject the parts you don't agree with, who are you really worshiping? Are you worshiping Jesus? Or are you worshiping yourself in the form of a person called Jesus? Because if you just take the commandments you like, if you just pick and choose, I like this one, I agree with this one, but I reject this, you aren't following the gospel of Jesus Christ. You are following the gospel of yourself. You are making the distinction between what should be in the gospel and what should not. What should be morally okay and what should be morally not okay. It's a direct version of self-worship disguised as Christianity, disguised as following Jesus. And Jesus says, even the least of these commandments that you reject and tell others to do the same will cause you to be the least in the kingdom of heaven. That should scare us. That should make us think about what we're teaching, think about what we're saying. Think about ways that we might be perverting or bending the word of God to fit our own interest. We should worry whether or not we are molding Jesus around our worldview, or if we're molding our worldview around Jesus. I think that's a legitimate concern and worry, and Jesus warns us about this in this verse. I think that's very clear. And I think that's something we should be concerned about, something that we should worry about. We should be checking ourselves. Is this really what the gospel says? Am I keeping all of these commandments? I think that's an important question to ask, because the alternative isn't very good. The alternative is a form of self-worship. It's an edited and revised gospel that fits your preferences. And that is not what Jesus calls us to do. So as Christians, we need to acknowledge that the Christian faith is absolute. It's all or nothing. It's not just take what you want and leave everything else. And I think that's something that we see a lot of right now. We see a lot of people deciding for themselves what it means to be Christian. They're using Christianity as a form of self-worship. And sadly, I think many people don't even realize that they're doing that to themselves. So this is a wake-up call. Keep all of the commandments of Jesus. Keep all of the teachings from the church. Because if you reject even the smallest of them, it could have dire consequences. So we should be conscious of that. We should acknowledge that. Faith in Jesus is absolute. It's not conditional. But what do you guys think? Comment down below.